Yes. A very good evening, one and all present here. Today, the webinar session is on effective communication skills for career opportunities. Well-developed communication skills are vital to a child's academic success. At all levels of education, students must be able to communicate effectively. Without well-developed communication skills, children run the risk of falling behind their peers or becoming emotionally overwhelmed or withdrawn at colleges. Good communication skills are essential to allow others and yourself to understand information more accurately and quickly. In contrast, poor communication skills lead to frequent misunderstandings and frustration. Good and effective communication enables students assimilate more from the learning process by empowering them to ask relevant questions and discuss doubts. Effective verbal communication nurtures the process of socialization by facilitating new friendships, and these in turn aid the learning process. Good evening, one and all. It's a warm welcome to all of you to the webinar on effective communication skills for career opportunities organized by Department of English. On behalf of Department of English, I invite the HOD Professor Indira Priyadarshini to speak a few words on the webinar. Madam.
Thank you, sir. Respected speaker, Professor James Hensley, convener Dr. Murali, the entire English fraternity, and today's audience, my dear students. A very good evening to all and a warm welcome to this webinar. Today's topic of the webinar, effective communication skills for career opportunities, is a very significant topic in the present scenario. We use communication skills every day in nearly every environment, and being able to communicate effectively is essential for career development. Clear communication skills will not only take your career in the right direction, but also help you land the job you want, as well as for higher opportunities. A well-crafted speech or email can help you avoid potential issues, enhance your reputation, and persuade others of your idea. Effective communication skills captivate the audience. They help handle and restore conflict. They help decode the attitude of the listener. They help form strong business relationships and result in strong writing skills, which is a major component of a successful career. Let us all take the inputs from the renowned and eminent speaker. I welcome Professor James Hensley. The stage is all yours now. Once again,
Madam.
A warm welcome to our speaker and also the students.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you. Before starting this session, I also would like to introduce about Professor James Hensley in few words. James has been an educator for nearly 19 years, working with students from a variety of cultures, backgrounds, and ages. He received his master's degree in literacy, culture, and language education from Indiana University, specializing in multimedia assisted language learning. For the last 9 years, he has been a professor of English language education, focusing on spoken and written communication. During those years, he has mentored students at his university's Global Studies Writing Lab. While currently he works at the Joint Forces Military University, Korea, Defense Language Institute, instructing Korean military personnel in English language communication for peacekeeping and attached assignments abroad and for TOEIC and OPIC examinations. His student-centered approach allows him to assist his students in hopes of giving them more opportunities and a greater potential for success. As a career learner himself, his compassion, alternativeness, and aspiration for assisting others are what drive him. And nothing is more fulfilling than to see those he helps succeed in their future ambitions and academic life. Now, it's my privilege to invite Professor James Hensley for the session webinar talk on effective communication skills for career opportunities. Now I welcome, on behalf of Department of English, to give his lecture. Now, thank you, Professor sir. Please welcome to the talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Morali. I'm happy to be here. It's always a pleasure for me to assist students in their academic or their personal goals. And nothing pleasures me more than to meet new students from different cultures and different backgrounds. As you mentioned, I am a learner, and it's helpful for me to understand other people from other cultures and backgrounds as well. So it is my pleasure to be here today. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Please welcome.
May I share my screen now?
Yeah, plus, sir, please.
Okay. So again, thank you for inviting me here, everyone. All students also, thank you for coming and joining us here on this webinar. Today, we are going to talk about effective communication skills for career opportunities. And I am Professor James Hensley. And as Dr. Morali had said, I have been a professor of English for nearly 9 years and an educator for almost 19 years. So I have gone through many different environments of teaching communication, specifically focused on English language communication. So let's go ahead and start. And what I want to share with you guys today is my objectives for what I want to share with you. One thing I want to consider the 3Ds, which to me, the 3Ds always start off with defining. Okay, so we want to define communication, determine what communication is. We want to determine the best skills for communication, specifically English communication. And we want to discover how to open opportunities. Once we are able to become good communicators, how can we open up more opportunities for us in the future? For better jobs, better careers, and whatever personal goals we want to accomplish. So how do we define communication? How do we define that? So when we consider communication, it's really difficult to come up with one exact definition, because there are many definitions when we consider communication, and it's really difficult to agree on just one. So as some others have said, as Danson Larson has said, in 1976, and this was a while ago, they had calculated that there are 126 different definitions of communication since the time of academic study of communication began more than 100 years ago. So that being nearly, 76, nearly 45 years ago, can you imagine what communication means now? Okay, so think about the digital age. How can we communicate with each other? Okay, I have to ask, is this, okay, all right, thank you very much. Thank you for removing that.
Sorry to interrupt you, Professor James, for a minute.
That's fine, yes.
I instruct all the participants, please maintain your behavior and decorum here.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Please,
no problem.
Please.
So I'll continue. So as far as communication, we can decide on basically one thing. Okay, communication is a way to form meaning through an exchange of verbal and nonverbal symbols and signs, okay, within various contexts. So there are many different ways that we communicate with each other, okay, but we want to add a little bit more. For our purposes, we want to add the fact that it also means a way for us to gain meaningful opportunities as well, especially in a second language. So not only is it a way to exchange information, exchange thoughts, feelings, and ideas, but it's also a way to gain meaningful opportunities in the future as well. So we'll focus on that, okay? It's a way to improve our personal lives, our academic lives, and our professional lives. Okay, that's one way that we can simply do that. But focusing on communication in general, there are different forms of communication.
Please, sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yes.
Professor, sir. Dear students and participants, please maintain some discipline. Here we are inviting international expert to enrich your communication skills. If we do so like this, you are all engineering students. If you cannot maintain good behavior, are we sending wrong signals to international countries? Remove from your end. Remove this from your end. Let the professor continue with his talk, because he has prepared. We have taken so many pains to request the professor to give international exposure to all my students of VJIT. If this kind of behavior you maintain, we are very sorry, nobody is going to change your attitude. Okay, please do understand. Thank you, Professor. Sorry for the interruption. Please, you continue.
Thank you, Dr. Morelli. Okay, so briefly, there are 5 different ways or 5 different forms of communication. The first way is interpersonal, and we won't focus too much on interpersonal communication, but it does have its means. So interpersonal communication is basically communication within ourselves. We're always talking to ourselves, trying to better ourselves, trying to understand things. That's one form. Another would be interpersonal. Interpersonal communication is communication between 2 people. It's more of an intimate communication with one people or one other person. Then you have group, public, which are similar in a way. Group communication is within a team or within a group of people where there is a back and forth communication. And then there's public communication, more on the lines of public speaking, where you have a speaker and an audience, and usually communication is in one way. What we're familiar with nowadays, with the advent of the internet and SNS, newspapers, online newspapers, we have mass communication, where information is spread out across many different media. So what we're going to do really is we're going to try to focus basically on interpersonal, group, and public communication today. Okay? So it really doesn't matter what language that we speak. It's not important whether it's English or Spanish, French, Hindu, it doesn't matter. Each form has its uses. So whether it's interpersonal, group, mass, they all have its uses. So each form has its uses. Each form has its own context. It is an exchange of information, and each requires a certain set of skills. Okay, and here's where it becomes important for us. Skills are something that we can develop, something that we can improve. We can determine what skills are necessary, and we can build on those skills. We can make them better. So let's take a look at these skills a little bit more and consider the best way that we can communicate. So what do we determine to be the best communication skills, specifically in English or really any other language? So what can we determine is the best communication skills? So what are communication skills? Well, these are abilities that we use for exchanging information. Okay, whether it's I'm giving information or somebody's giving information to me, or whether one person is giving information to a group of people. So it's the exchange of information. We do this every day. This is a day-to-day. So when we use this, we probably don't even think that we're using it. It just happens kind of naturally. So we use this communication skills at work, we use it at home, we use it at school, basically in many different environments. Any environment that you can think of, humans communicate in one way or another. So thinking about these skills, why is it important to improve our communication skills. Why is that important? Well, for one reason, and maybe many of you fall in this category, we want to better ourselves, or we want to achieve some form of personal or professional goal. Maybe we just want to have some fun, kill some time and learn another language. Or maybe we want to advance in our position at our university or at our job. Okay, so that's one way to improve, or why we want to improve. Another reason why we would like to improve our communication skills is to extend to the global arena. We want to extend a global reach. So we know that English is spoken in almost nearly all countries in the world. So we could consider that a global language. So when you develop communication skills in English, we're able to communicate with people all around the world. And that is a plus if you want to advance a career or go into other industries. We want to develop a cultural sensitivity too. Anytime that you can reach around the globe, express yourselves, learn a language, exchange ideas, you're almost encountering people from other countries and other cultures too. And in doing that, you learn a sensitivity and you learn to understand other cultures more. So that's another reason why we want to improve our communication skills. And there's so much information available that we can get a hold of. Again, English is a global language. So many books, so many articles, journals are written in English. So we can reach out to almost anywhere and find a vast amounts of information, okay, through learning and sort of developing our communication skills. So can you think of any others? Well, I'll let you think about that. So again, there are probably many different reasons why you would like to improve your own communication skills, but we have our own ideas as well. So think about what makes you want to improve your communication skills. Most people take communication for granted. And here is another reason why we want to improve. People usually don't, actually. People get to a specific point. There's a plateau that people reach in their communication skills, and then they're finished. They no longer advance in their communication skills. So if you want to improve, if you want to advance, you're going to have to take that and you're going to have to seek it out. So if you consider the United States, where I'm from, I come from the United States, Americans are basically monolingual. That means they speak only one language, English. However, if you compare the United States, Americans to around the world, over 50% of the globe speaks multiple languages. They're bilingual or they're multilingual. Well, that is really a big difference. America is starting to improve a little bit on their language speaking skills or their communication skills. But still, we can see that once we reach a certain level, that our skills stop improving. So we want to stand out. We want to advance a little bit more for us. If we can improve our communication skills, we'll stand out. We'll be able to compete better in the job market. We'll be able to advance, go to other schools, advance and transfer to other schools. So standing out and competing with other job seekers. Okay? And we want to allow better communication. So once we improve, we become better communicators in English. We can speak more clearly, we can speak more effectively, and we can speak more efficiently. So that is the best reason why we should improve our communication skills. Again, not only in English, but in any language. So how? How do we communicate this way? How do we communicate more clearly, more effectively, more efficiently? How do we do that? Well, one way that we could do it is that we can sort of look at the great communicators. Okay, go to the internet or find somebody who you admire or respect and sort of use them as a mentor. So study those great communicators and see how they speak, see how they communicate. You also have to be active as well. Learning a better skill, learning to improve is an active process. You have to seek it out. You have to find ways to improve and practice yourself. You should go out, you should seek feedback too. Okay? If you use the language, well, you need some sort of feedback to let you know if you're doing well or not. So seek the feedback, find out if you're doing well or not. Hey, could you please tell me what my strengths are, what I need to work on? So you have to seek that feedback as well. You also need to understand the differences in communication. Okay, as I mentioned, there are 5 different forms of communication, whether it's interpersonal or mass. So you have to sort of identify and understand the differences between communication types and forms and skills also. The last thing is to remain patient. You really have to remain patient. You will not develop your skills like that. Okay, it will not happen in one day. It will not happen in 1 week. It will take many, many, many days, months, and even years to improve your communication skills. So be patient. Don't get aggravated. Don't get frustrated. Just keep working hard and trying to build your own skills. The 4 types of communication. Okay, we talked about the forms of communication, the 5 forms. Now, what about the 4 types of communication, 4 main types? Well, what I'm doing now is I am exchanging information verbally. So verbal communication, non-verbal communication, we have written communication, and we have visual communication. I won't focus too much on visual communication because that's more of a public speaking, and that deserves its own time. Okay, it'll take a long time to do that. But let's consider these types of communication, these skills, okay? And consider verbal. Okay, verbal, of course, as I mentioned, that's the spoken language. Spoken language. Nonverbal includes body language, facial expressions. Learning facial expressions is very important to understand other people and to communicate. And vocalics. Vocalics is certain sounds that we make in order to exchange information, like oh yes. So we have certain ways of acknowledging, agreeing, disagreeing, and using these vocalics in our communication. Written communication, that's written language, of course, writing symbols, numbers, signs, symbols like periods, question marks. Each symbol in written communication is very important, and they have their own meanings. Visual communication, things like photography, drawings, charts, graphs, lines, figures. Okay, that would be considered visual. And again, I'll not focus too much on that. Okay. So we have our communication skills, our 4 communication skills. So how should we use them? How can we use them properly? What do we use them for? Okay, so let's talk about using these communication skills. Okay. When we think about verbal communication, okay, how can we become good verbal communicators? Okay, what should we do? How should we use this kind of communication? Well, one way that we do that is to use a strong, confident voice. Okay, speak slowly, speak clearly. Okay, during our verbal communication. So leaders, supervisors, managers, CEOs, anybody who runs a company or an organization wants to find people who can use verbal communication properly. So being able to use a strong, confident voice, speaking slowly, speaking clearly, hey, that's what we should use. We should use active listening for verbal communication. I like to think that listening is 75% or more of a conversation. So listening is just as vital as speaking. So you have to listen very carefully to what the other person is saying or what the other communication says. So you got to be an active listener. You should really try to avoid fillers, which are unnecessary words or fragments or sounds that we might use during speech that could complicate or confuse listeners. So we want to avoid those. And we want to avoid industry jargon or words that are focused only on one industry. Or we want to avoid using cliches as well. Cliches, old phrases or words that don't really mean anything, that are overused. So if you want to use this skill, this verbal skill, confidently and very effectively, we want to be able to do these 4 things. Okay, so please keep that in mind. For nonverbal communication, we really need to monitor our emotions and our reactions. Okay, gestures also are very important, okay, when we are communicating nonverbally. Sometimes you can have miscommunication. A lot of times nonverbal communication can lead to misunderstandings and can lead to conflicts. So you really have to monitor your gestures. You have to monitor your emotions and reactions. And for an example here, I'll use the gesture of widening your eyes. In the United States and Western cultures, if you widen your eyes, it's a sign of surprise. However, in some Asian cultures and perhaps other cultures, when you widen your eyes like this, it means that you are showing anger or that you are upset with somebody or showing frustration. So you really have to monitor your emotions, your reactions, your gestures. You really have to be careful with those. And for nonverbal communication, if you see someone or a communicator using very effective nonverbal communication, try to mimic that. Try to use that in your own communication. Okay. One way to learn, okay, when you copy someone or when you follow someone's lead or mimic somebody, okay, that's one way to learn. So don't be afraid to mimic other people's effective nonverbal communications as well. Visual communication, I won't go into this too much, but when you're using visual communications, you want to use effective visuals. You want to use visuals that are great and useful to whatever communication is that you're trying to express. You want to ask for feedback if you're going to use visuals. If you're going to give a public speech and you have visuals, it is imperative that you ask your audience or ask the director if your visual is okay, because it could sort of frustrate people or cause some miscommunication. So consider your visuals, respect your audience, consider your audience's feelings when you're doing that. And again, only use visuals that have value, that are effective for your own communications. Okay, use visuals that are clear and that are easy to read so your audience can understand them. Think about your audience, definitely, when you are using visual communication. Okay, last one here, written communication. A lot of people that I have come across in communication kind of put written communication down on the low list of trying to open up career opportunities. And I don't understand why. Because nowadays there are emails, there's SMS, and usually our first impression is with communication, written communication. So emails are very, very important these days. So you have to be very, very careful with your written communication. You want to keep it very simple. You want to keep it very easy so that your reader or your audience can understand. You want to consider your tone, consider the emotional baseline or emotional foundation that you're using when you're giving written communication. You want to save what you find that is effective. If you find something that you have used and you know that it's been effective at communicating, save it and keep using it. Use it again and again. Okay, it will help you to become a better writer. It will help you to become a better communicator. And when it comes to written communication, I cannot express more how important proofreading is. So please review your written communication, review and review. Okay, this is 3 times, so we know that reviewing, proofreading, polishing your written communication is very, very important. And I know from experience, I've made mistakes myself where I've sent out a CV, a cover letter, and a resume that I thought was perfect. I sent it, but then later I looked at it, and I found a mistake. I was so angry at myself. So please make sure, don't make the same mistake that I did. Review your written communication before you send it. Okay, so now that we've covered what communication is, the the different skills, the different forms of communication, and what it takes to use these skills, how do we improve them? How do we improve the communication skills? Great communication takes time, everyone. I can't express how long it takes. Again, I've been in education for almost 19 years, and I don't pretend to be a professional. I am still learning how to communicate. I still see errors in my own communication, and I try to learn them. So even after almost 20 years, I'm still learning. So it does take time, so you do have to be patient, okay, with your skills. It comes with experience. It comes with practice. So in this situation here, don't think you're going to be great in one day. It's not going to happen. It does take a lot of time. All right. You want to start with your strengths. Find out what you're good at first. If you're good at interpersonal communication, speaking one-to-one, focus on that. Work on that. Build that. Okay, build those skills. Improve those strengths. You want to be able to do that. Practice and develop that. Okay, then you can start working on your weaker points as you get better and better with your strengths. Okay, so how to improve? Okay, how to improve? As I mentioned before, improvement comes from copying other people. Okay, study the great communicators. Study the great English communicators. As a Westerner myself, as an American, when I give a speech, or in my early years of learning speech and communication, I look toward Martin Luther King Jr. I look towards Steve Jobs, Obama, okay, Barack Obama. Okay, they are great, they're great at giving speeches. So look at the great speakers, look at the great communicators, and find out what it takes, okay? Ask for constructive feedback, okay, when you are communicating. Ask people how you're doing, what you can do better. Practice good communication habits. Okay, habits, I'll go over that in more detail in just a moment. And attend English workshops or classes, communication classes, in order to improve your skills a little bit more. And don't forget, it is an active process. Okay, communicating, become a better communicator, improving your skills. You have to go out, you have to seek it, you have to find it. Okay, so let's focus a little bit more on these great English communicators, or these great communicators. Who are they? Okay, who are great communicators? Well, they could be professionals. Okay, they could be people that you work with in academics or in your organization. They can be family members. Find a family member who is a really good communicator. Talk with them. Watch them very closely. They can be friends. You can find some friends who are really good communicators, who speak English very well or just communicate very well. Learn from them, but you have to seek them out. You have to try to find them. And if you do not, they are not going to come to you. I promise you that. So when you're looking at these great communicators, when you're watching them, you want to try to observe their behavior. For example, look for how they communicate, okay, in English or in other language. How do they do that? So you might want to see how they communicate with their respect. How do they respect the listeners? Consider how they empathize with them. Do they understand the feelings of those they are communicating with? Can they read certain gestures and understand what they need, what their wants are? And what is their confidence like? Do they speak with confidence? Do they seem like they're very proud of their speech? Do they seem like they're very strong in their speaking? So check how they speak with these specific skills. Look at their tones. Okay, see how they communicate with their tone. What is their tone like? Their intonation. How does their voice rise and lower with each sentence or each question? And look at different patterns as well. Patterns are very important when you're communicating. If you see a pattern that good speakers use often, try to copy that. Okay? Check out their gestures. Look at their gestures, see how they move their hands. Look at their facial expressions when they're speaking. But most importantly, look how they respond to other people's gestures too. How do they react? So it's not just a one-way communication. you have to see how they respond, what their feedback is as well. Take notes. Okay, don't be afraid to sit by, with a notepad or your smartphone and take notes. Oh, this speaker uses this pattern, or this speaker uses this facial expression when they're talking. Take notes, observe, and look very carefully and try to mimic them a little bit. Okay, but most importantly, and I believe this is really important too, you want to observe how great communicators affect others. Okay, how do their communications affect other people? When they're really, really good speakers, if you look at Barack Obama or if you look at Martin Luther King, they're very, very powerful in their communications. And if you look at the audience is, wow, they're really focused on the speakers. They're paying really good attention. Their faces are really, really excited and they're listening. So you want to pay attention to other people's reactions too when great communicators talk. Okay, check that out as well. When you're trying to improve communication skills, you also want to ask for constructive feedback as well. Okay, you can't just expect that you're going to use English and communication and keep going without receiving feedback. So you want to ask for that. How am I doing? So you want to get some honest, you want to get some objective feedback from, say, friends and family. Find a trusted friend. Okay, excuse me here.
Shafi sir, can you please look at once sir's screen? Okay, now it's okay, sir. Now we can see it is visible.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So yeah, when we were trying to get positive, constructive, honest feedback, try to find a trusted friend, somebody that you can trust, not to always say, oh, you're doing a very good job. You want to be able to told what your weaknesses are too. Okay, so find a friend, find a trusted colleague that will be honest with you and tell you what you need to focus on, because it does help you to understand your areas of improvement, okay, when they give you true and honest feedback. So ask for that. Okay, once you get it, you'll be able to understand where you need improvement, and you'll also be able to identify what you should focus on to become a better communicator. Another thing that you need to do to improve your communication skills is to practice good communication habits. You want to start getting into habits that allow you to develop these skills a little bit more. You want to be more responsive. Okay, when people are talking to you, don't just give one word answer and say yes and no. Okay, we want to be more responsive. We want to try to give full sentences. We want to try to interact with them more. Engage with them a little bit more. Eye contact is really, really important. When you make good eye contact, your listener will understand, oh, this person is really paying attention and will want to communicate with you more. So don't stare down at the ground or looking up at the good eye contact. That's a good habit to get into. Give positive feedback to your other listener or who it is you're talking to, okay, during your communication. Oh, that's very nice, or you're doing a great job, or tell me that one more time, I didn't understand. So you're all the time, there is an exchange. Remember, communication is an exchange of information. So give some positive feedback, interact more. And if you are speaking, if you're communicating and you notice that, oh, I made a mistake with my own speech, and this is really important for second language learners or English language learners. If you're speaking and you make an error, and you know you make an error, go back and say the sentence again. If you make a subject-verb agreement error, or if you use the wrong verb tense, you're like, oh my goodness, I made an error. Say, excuse me, and repeat, but use the correct sentence this time. So always try to correct your own errors. And that will help you to identify your own mistakes and errors too. Ask questions. Okay, ask questions. Very important in a communication, good habit to get into. One, it extends the conversation, extends the communication, it keeps it going. In that situation, you give more time to the communication and you do improve. Okay, so don't be afraid to ask questions. Go into an English workshop or go into a group or join a class. Okay, try to find something where you can go and become involved in the process of communication. Again, it doesn't have to be English if you don't want. If you want to learn Spanish, it's the same thing. You want to attend something, some sort of organized event, like a class or like a workshop, or join a group. You can join a group on the internet. You know, it depends on you. There are many groups online or many classes online and offline so that you can attend and improve. Okay, these classes or these groups or whatever, they might include instruction. Okay, you can go and sit and you can listen to a teacher or a professor instruct you on certain communication skills or languages. They might be role plays. Role plays are very important to understand certain scenarios or different situations where you might communicate in. Written assignments, if you are wanting to improve your writing skills, okay, they'll provide you with written assignments so that you can communicate better with emails or SNS or whatever technical writing you might be into. For these classes, you might get involved with open discussions. Okay, I've had plenty of experience teaching at the universities with just teaching English conversation class, open communication. And a lot of people really enjoy the open communication, open discussions, because it does help to improve their skills, their communication skills. And lastly, you want to seek opportunities to communicate. Look inside and outside the class. Don't just focus on things inside the classroom. Go outside of the class too. If you see somebody who's a stranger and they look safe, you really must be careful with who you approach. You might see somebody who's traveling to the country. You might see a traveler or somebody on vacation, or you might see a foreigner, and just approach them and start a conversation. Okay, you have to be active. You have to look everywhere in order to become better at communication. Go on and off the job. Okay, go online, offline. Okay, there are many different ways. Go to familiar places, go to unfamiliar places. But again, you really need to be careful. If you're approaching somebody who you don't know, you really have to be careful who you approach. And most importantly, don't be shy. Okay, don't be shy. Most people that you approach will understand that you're trying to learn to communicate a little bit better. Or you might say, you know, hi, my name is James. You know, I'm a student of English and I'm trying to improve my communication a little bit more. Can I talk with you for a little bit, or can I ask you some questions? And they'll oftentimes say, sure, I'll talk to you for a little while. So don't be shy. Most people are very accepting of people who want to communicate. Okay, so now that we've learned skills, how to improve our communication skills, how do we communicate more effectively? Okay, how do we communicate more effectively in English or in any other language? So communicating effectively in English, think about the leaders, okay, supervisors, managers, anybody in a director's role, somebody with authority. Leaders look for great communication skills. Okay, they look for that. If you're going for a job interview, if it's written communication in an email, they'll look for that first. They'll say, "Whoa, is that person really good at communication?" Okay, so you really want to try to be very concise. You want to be very clear when you are communicating, because again, leaders or your future bosses or future managers are looking for that. So be clear, be concise, practice empathy. Try to understand other people's feelings. Try to understand their needs, their wants. Okay, that's important as a listener, and listening skills are very important. Well, assert yourself. Okay, you want to assert yourself. You kind of want to take charge. If you have confidence, you want to initiate conversations sometimes. You want to initiate communication. So try to assert yourself. Don't stand back and be introverted. There are times for that. But when you're trying to communicate effectively and improve on those skills, You have to put yourself out there. You have to step forward. In communication, it is always great to be calm. Okay, you want to remain calm. You want to be consistent. Okay, you don't want to be overly angry or overly frustrated or overly emotional. You want to remain calm and consistent with your behavior. Okay, don't be spontaneous because that will scare people sometimes. And use and read body language. Okay, the concept of reading nonverbal language is really, really vital for a communicator. It really helps you to understand what you need to say next. So if you say something and somebody looks at you a little bit frustrated, you know that you have to be careful the next thing that you say, or you might need to return to your previous statement and sort of rephrase or restate it again. So reading and using the correct body language is really, really important for effective communication. Okay, so remember to do that. And specifically, be clear and precise. Okay, make your message easy to understand. Okay, keep it simple. Okay, this helps to reduce misunderstandings. It helps to speed up projects. If you're working in a group setting and you speak clearly and concisely, movement or progress will be quicker in that situation. So you don't want misunderstandings. You want to continue to progress in your meetings. You help others to understand your goals if you can speak clearly and more concisely. You want to be able to help others because others are really the most important in the situation here. You want to reduce the message to its core. What does that mean? That means you don't want to say too much that will sort of confuse your listener or complicate the issue. You want to say what you mean. Say what you mean. That way everybody can understand exactly what the message is. Okay, you have to be able to express it. And the core means the main point, the main idea. So reduce the message to the main point, to the main idea. So that's good for effective communication. And just give the most necessary information. Don't give too much. Be precise, give the main idea, straight to the point. Empathy. Okay, as I mentioned, empathy is a way to understand the listener's feelings, the ideas, their goals. So you need to be able to understand that. Okay, as I mentioned, it needs you to, it allows you to prepare your messages, helps to reduce apprehension, anxiety. It calms things down a little bit when you can understand empathy. Asserting yourself, as I said, you want to begin communication, you want to be confident, you want to remain respectful, okay? And this is especially important when you're communicating with students or you're communicating with bosses. Remain respectful because bosses, sometimes they make you angry, especially when they're talking about jobs or your weaknesses. It might make you angry, so you still want to remain respectful to anybody. Okay, not just your bosses and students, but actually anybody. Try to remain respectful, even if they make you angry. Try to use an even tone. Okay, keep your emotions balanced. Don't want to be too angry. Don't want to be too frustrated. You want to be baseline foundation. You want to keep sound reasoning. Okay, be logical. Be reasonable. Okay, when you're speaking with others. So when you do that, you know, it does show that you have good skills. Okay, it shows that you are confident, that you have experience. Okay, it shows that you have skills of learning to read others. So it's really, really great to assert yourself and show that, hey, I'm confident enough that I can speak. Confidence also helps others to be receptive to you. Okay, if they know that you're confident, they will listen to you more. Okay, than if you're looking down at the ground or looking up. Okay, so be assertive. Okay, be calm and consistent. Monitor your nervousness. Keep in mind that when you're nervous, nobody knows you're nervous unless you show them. You don't know how fast they don't know how fast your heart is beating. You might feel it, but they cannot hear it. They don't feel it. So try not to show your nervousness. Okay, monitor your body language. Monitor your nervousness. Gestures, they're vital. for communications. Be careful with your gestures. Okay, you want to do that. This helps to avoid conflicts. It helps to avoid miscommunication, misunderstanding. Okay, it also helps to avoid conflicts. You don't want to cause a fight. You don't want to cause anybody to be angry. So try to keep calm, try to keep consistent, because we don't want any disagreements. We don't want any misunderstandings. That destroys communication. Okay, so keep that in mind too. Okay, use and read body language. Okay, that's a key for communication. Okay, that's a key. If you can read and understand body language well, that's a big plus for you. So watch facial expressions, note people's movements, note their hands, what they're doing, note the way that they move their body or wave their bodies. Okay, note all of those things. And don't forget to monitor your own body language too. Okay? You might show them something that they don't want to see. So be careful. Okay. All right, so now let's jump into the last part of this class. Okay. How can we open up opportunities for us? Okay, what can we do to help us, improve our careers? How can we improve our levels, get better jobs, improve our chances to get into good universities? So how can we open up those opportunities? How can we be better? So think about the greatest leaders. Okay, if you can think of somebody in your mind who's a great leader, I always think of, Barack Obama was a great leader. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a great leader. From the United States, those always come to mind. So when we think about these guys, what do they have in common? And what makes them great? What makes them great leaders? Well, one, they communicate very well. They're great communicators. They build strong relationships too. Okay, they always pull in people that are complements of them. So they build great relationships, they communicate very well, and they share their ideas very successfully. So that's what we want to do. When we want to be better communicators, we want to be able to do this, okay, to share those ideas, to build strong relationships, to communicate very well. When you think about these leaders, do all of them speak English? No. Just because you speak English doesn't really make you a great leader. Many do speak English, of course, because they've gone to really good schools, and they've probably known that English helps to build that global reach, right? It allows you to reach out to other countries. But great leaders don't necessarily all speak English. Most do, many do, but some don't. So keep in mind also that English communication or communication in general is not easy. Okay, I've seen students through my years, I've seen students who know so many vocabulary words. You give them a test, a vocabulary test, like 100%. Or I've seen students who are perfect with their grammar skills. You give them a test, or they can teach you grammar, and still they have trouble. Okay, they still have trouble. You can have students who are really good readers, but when it comes to communicating, they still have problems. Okay, so somewhere along the line, these students may have been good at one particular skill, but their overall communication skills are lacking. There's something missing, and they still can't express themselves. So how can we do that? Well, how can we do that? Well, a lot of people think, oh, well, if I just learn English, I will be successful. Okay, many people think that. Many people think, oh, I'm just going to learn English and I'm going to be, the next Elon Musk, or I'm going to be, Jeff Bezos. So many think that English skills can lead to success. Can they? Can English skills lead to success? Maybe. Hey, perhaps. Maybe they can lead to success. Many people think this. Many people think that learning English or English skills can open opportunities. Hey, what about this? What do you guys think? Can English skills open bigger opportunities? Can they advance your career? Absolutely. Absolutely. They can open up opportunities, but you are the one, the learner has to take that advantage. You have to use it. So opportunities arise from development. If you want better opportunities, you have to develop your skills. You have to, or it's not going to work. So how to develop them? Okay, here are some very basic ways to help develop your English skills. Okay, one, slow down. Okay, slow down. Okay, next, learn learn sentences instead of words. Okay, a lot of students just take vocabulary and they want to learn vocabulary. That's good. Okay, it's okay to learn words, but you should actually use them in sentences. To learn sentences, listen to others, ask questions, understand and use body language, put in the hard work. Okay, you have to work hard in order to open the opportunities and try to build a network. Okay, you want to be able to do these things. Okay, so slow down. Okay, what does that mean, slow down? One, be patient. As we mentioned before, if you want to improve your skills, if you want to be effective at communicating, you're going to have to slow down. But overall, in general, when it comes to communication, don't compare your pace or your speed or your learning to your mother tongue. Okay, your second language, your L2, will never be as good as your mother tongue. Okay, so never compare those things. So don't compare the speed of your second language to your mother tongue. And don't have false hope. Don't think that, oh, I'm going to be just like a native English speaker in 1 year. Okay, there's no possible way that you could be like a native English speaker in 1 year. So don't give yourself false hope. You'll kill your confidence and you will be very frustrated. Take your time. Okay, some people tend to try to rush to learn the communication skills or English skills, but take your time, okay? Go slow. Slow down your speaking speed, okay, when you're doing this as well. Okay, this allows you time to choose the correct words. When you slow down with your speaking, when you slow down with your English, that allows you to think, oh, what word comes next? Or it gives you time to think of an answer, or it gives you time to give the best answer. So slow down your speaking speed. Okay? Learn sentences instead of words. It's okay to learn new words. That's awesome. Okay, that's great. But try to memorize sentences that use them. Okay, use those words and sentences and practice using those sentences in real settings. Okay, don't just learn the sentence and say, I learned a new sentence. You want to try to use that. Okay, when you use it, it aids acquisition. So you got to learn it, use it, learn it, use it. It's a continuous revolving door. The more you use it, the more it sticks in your brain. Dictate sentences that you read or that you see. If you're watching TV or you read a newspaper, you don't understand the sentence or you like it, write it down. You write it down and then try to use that sentence in communication. Paraphrase everything you can. Paraphrase. If somebody speaks to you, repeat what they said or paraphrase what they said. That helps you internalize the language and helps you to be better at communicating in English. Listen to others. I probably should have put this first because to me, listening is one of the most difficult and the most important skill that you should have as a communicator. You really should. So really pay attention to what people say, what others say. Eavesdropping. I don't know if you know the word eavesdropping, but eavesdropping basically means try to listen to other people if you're not involved in their conversation. Okay, you can listen. Try not to be overly rude or try not to be insulting to them when you're listening to their conversation. Let's sort of get an idea about how they speak and what they say and their gestures and things like that. So eavesdropping may be a little bit useful. Listen to native English speakers, of course. Understand how they talk. It helps to improve your own English skills when you can listen to native speakers. It helps you pick up the language, of course, when you listen to native speakers. It improves your intonation, okay, when you listen to them. And you can pick up certain dialects, okay. In the United States, there are many different dialects. There is, of course, American English, but in America itself, you have Southern dialect, you have Northeast dialect, you have Midwest dialect. So it helps you to understand different dialects as well. Okay, listen to others. Okay, listen to others. Repeat what others say. Okay, repeat what they say. This allows you to internalize the language. If somebody says something to you, say, oh, okay, so you said this. So I will repeat again what you say. Just to clarify, it sounds like a clarification. But again, repeating what others say, it does allow you to internalize the language a little bit more. Okay, let others speak. Okay, don't interrupt people when they are speaking. Let them finish. That also allows you to return the manners. Okay, if you allow them to speak, they will allow you to speak too. So try to be kind. Don't interrupt people when they're speaking. Ask questions, of course. Asking questions, it improves your understanding. Okay, it continues the conversation. It shows interest. Okay, when you ask questions, and it makes sure others speak and you listen. When you ask questions, not only do you get to speak, but also you get to listen to their answers. So it improves both skills, speaking and listening in that class. So ask questions. Don't be afraid to do that. Body language, okay, as I mentioned, make eye contact. Okay, develop those skills. Keep eye contact, not too much. Okay? You don't want to stare at them, but making eye contact shows that you're paying attention. It shows that you're confident, right? Monitor your own body signals, okay, as well. What are you doing? Are your gestures correct? I tend to move my hands a lot, in case you haven't noticed. I do use my hands. I gesture with my hands quite a bit to, let you know when I'm trying to teach you something or when I'm wanting to learn something. So monitor your body signals and your facial expressions, and monitor how other signals reflect your language. So if you're talking to somebody and you're using your hands a lot and you notice that they see that, monitor other people's signals too. Okay, that's important. That shows how other people perceive you and how they react toward you. Okay, second to last, this is, tell students this all the time because students often come up to me. They often come up to me and say, Professor Hensley, how can I be better? How can I be better at English? Or how can I improve my English communication skills? And here's my answer. Put in hard work. You have to be active. You can't just sit around, okay, and wait for it to come to you. You have to immerse yourself in the language. You have to immerse yourself in the communication environment. You can't just sit back passively. Don't put yourself or keep yourself in your mother tongue either. I call this an island, a language island. And I've seen many students like this who come from other countries. They sit in my English class, but after the English class, they go back into their little circle, their little bubble with their friends and speak their native tongue. So stay out of your mother tongue bubbles. Get out of those bubbles, break out of the bubbles. Try to immerse yourself into the language, into the culture if you can. Get out of your comfort zone, okay? Make those little efforts that are uncomfortable to you, like talk to somebody you don't know, okay? Talk to somebody that is a stranger that you feel comfortable with approaching. Get out of that comfort zone. Scare yourself a little bit, scare yourself. Join a club, okay? Join a group that forces you to speak the language or it forces you to communicate. Like I said, speak to a native speaker. Okay, go to a foreigner. If you see a foreigner or a traveler, go up to him and say, hi, my name is blah, 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 and start a conversation. Okay, it really does help you. So put in that hard work, make an effort. And last thing, build a network. Okay, build a network. I actually built a network on LinkedIn, and it allowed me to meet some people. Okay, I met Dr. Morale on LinkedIn, and he gave me this great opportunity to come and share my knowledge of communication with you guys. So building a network is really, really important to be able to communicate, to practice your skills, and to improve. Okay, so try to do that. Find some English-speaking friends, some other people on groups. You might join an SNS group or a network, or you might want to become a volunteer at an event of some sort. that will help you to improve your communication skills. Volunteering is very important. Join Toastmasters. I don't know, is maybe Dr. Morali, you can answer this question. Is there a Toastmasters in India? I'm not quite sure. But Toastmasters basically is a speech club that you can attend for free, and they will help you to improve your speaking skills and your public speaking skills. So if you have that available to you, that would be something that will help to improve communication skills. You can follow news feeds, you can follow threads on the internet or whatever. But again, you must be active, you must put in the effort, you must try to build certain networks of positive people that will help push you to develop communication skills, to improve communication skills. Okay. Now, so that's basically it for my presentation, but let me give a couple of final thoughts to wrap this up. One important thing is, I know that proficiency exams, they are very powerful and they are necessary to judge whether your level skills are high or low or advanced or beginning. IELTS, of course, everybody wants to get level 9 on IELTS. We know that. But you can't just focus on the exam prep. Okay, you really have to put yourself into the language and into the communication environment to improve your overall skills. Okay, so don't strictly rely on just exam prep. Get out there, put yourself into the communication environment so that you can improve your own skills. Learning a language is a battle of attrition. Okay, that means it takes years. Okay, it takes years to master a language. It takes years to master communication. As I told you, I've been an educator for 19 years, a communicator for 19 years, and I still don't think I'm a master. So it takes years. So be ready to go the long distance and be prepared to work for a very long time. Okay. And last thought, focus on being understood. Okay, being understood is what your goal is as a communicator. Okay, so if your listener can understand you, then that's a plus. Okay, that's really what you want to do, because communication, that's how communication is achieved. Communication is achieved through understanding. Okay, so I hope you guys learned something from my presentation today, from this webinar. And again, just let me thank everybody for coming. And I want to thank those who invited me to speak today. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor James. It was really an amazing talk. Many students are eagerly waiting for how to improve our communication skills, verbal and nonverbal communication skills. If you are a good listener, then you will be a good communicator.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have emphasized on obey the seniors, obey the speakers well, especially senior speakers. And the common interesting factor is you keep on mentioning one name twice. That's a great, the then President of White House, Barack Obama. He's really an amazing personality, his voice modulation, his posture. I was so impressed by his talks too. Really, absolutely. I too learned certain things from his voice modulation and presentation skills. It is very loud to hear that you two have mentioned in your talk twice. And also you mentioned certain things, how to improve communication skills. As you say, America has its own, it's a monolingual country.
Right.
Yeah. And other than America and all the countries, world countries do not have a single language. Every citizen, every global citizen has a challenge to survive in Western countries. From India, every year, more than 5 lakhs of students, engineering graduates or MBA graduates, they seek admission in international universities for either MBA or MS. Your talk, your presentation really gave a clarity to those who want to pursue MS or higher degrees abroad.
Thank you.
Yes. And also you have given a really clear picture to all of us. My students also really felt very happy. See, many students are even in spite of continuous classes and examinations, there are various good number of students still online and very interested to learn from you. It's very really appreciating. Yeah, they should be appreciated, and we appreciate all the students who made this talk, and also you are taking away various inputs for your career opportunity.
Yes,
okay. I thank Professor James L. Hensley once again from bottom of my heart on behalf of Department of English, Vidyajyoti Institute of Technology, Hyderabad, and on behalf of all my teachers, colleagues over here, on behalf of them also, on behalf of the students of VJIT, I congratulate and I thank Professor James L. Hensley in this regard, and for giving me this only with a single message, without any secondary thought. You have accepted to take up the session. It's really an amazing personality as you are. It's a lovable character, a lovable personality, I feel.
Thank you.
Really, it's a very happy moment for me and for even our English teachers and our students also. They have learned communication procedure, verbal, non-verbal communication as well.
Right.
Thank you, Professor.
For making a network. Because of our network, we were able to meet. Thank you very much.
Sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our proposal. I also thank my friends here for supporting me, and I also thank HOD. HOD is after us to convene all these type of webinars for development of students. Really thank each and everyone who directly or indirectly supported to make this talk success, a grand success.
Me too. Thank you very much. Those behind the scenes who we didn't get to see, who ran the webinar, thank you very much.
Definitely, sir. This is a first, it's a maiden attempt. In future also, we associate to have certain talks, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes. And coming to the participant, you will get a feedback link. Please fill the feedback link, and you will get e-certificate to your mail ID. Yes, the feedback link is shared across this YouTube live session. Please fill the Google form and submit. You will get the certificates. Thank you, everyone. Students, you can leave. And I received some opinions from participants, sir. This is, people say it's an informative session. Yes, people are sending messages, and I wanted to convey the messages of the people. Yeah, it's an informative session. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You have covered us in a nutshell. You have covered so many things.
Okay, thank you. Would you like me to leave the chat room, or is it going to close? Would you like me to leave?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much. I enjoyed myself. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Dear participants, please fill the feedback link to get e-certificate. This e-certificate